Yesterday, I watched the first episode of Gotham Knights so that you don't have to. If you don't know what Gotham Knights is, it is the latest CW show based off of DC characters. It does not appear to be tied to the Arrowverse, but it still has very much that flavor of the Arrowverse shows. Some of the same producers are working behind the scenes. And the basic premise is that Batman is killed and his adopted son must figure out who his killer is. You might be thinking, oh, cool, a show about Dick Grayson avenging the murder of Batman. No. You might be thinking, oh, cool, a show about Tim Drake avenging the murder of Batman. No. You might be thinking, oh, cool, maybe even cooler, a show about Jason Todd avenging the murder of Bruce Wayne. No. This show is about Turner Hayes. Who is Turner Hayes, you might ask? That would be a great question because they made him up. Of all the characters in the Batman canon, of all the DC characters, they decided to do a DC adaptation where the lead character is like this new made-up guy. At least as best I can. Maybe he's some obscure guy in a couple comics, but they make it literally about someone raised by Bruce Wayne. But instead of having that person be one of the many names that we associate as the person raised by Bruce Wayne as a sidekick of Bruce Wayne. No. It's Turner Hayes. And this adopted son of Batman must team up with the children of Batman's villains to try and prove their innocence. There's actually a video game that came out not too long ago called Gotham Knights that has the same exact premise, except the good version of it. I'm not crazy about this premise, the idea of killing Batman, but it's the good version of it where Batman is killed and his sidekicks, Barbara Gordon, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, Dick Grayson, team up to avenge him. That's actually interesting and compelling because you know who those characters are. You know their relationship to Bruce Wayne and Batman, and having them step into the front and center is interesting because you like them and you there's a relationship there you understand. What makes absolutely no sense is making a show about the son of a version of a character we've never seen with a character we don't care about. And that's essentially what this show is. It's one of the worst examples or one of the grossest examples of abusing borrowed trust that I've ever seen. What do I mean by that? The only reason anyone is turning into the show is because it's being sold on Batman has been killed and his son must avenge him. It's borrowing our interest in Batman. It's borrowing the name, the fame, the reputation that comes with Batman, but it's just using him. He's not in it. We don't get to know him. We don't spend time with him. At least in the first episode, we don't have flashbacks to see the relationship between Turner and Bruce. Like, we don't see any of that. It just uses Batman to be killed off so as like just motivation to have these other characters that no one would turn into a show about them if they didn't sell it on killing Batman. They kill off the character we actually want to see so that we can have a story about characters no one wants to see. Gives them a motivation that we would have. Wait, you killed my Batman? How dare you? How dare you kill Batman? We need to catch the person that did that. But they don't have someone compelling, someone interesting, someone we care about trying to hunt down the killer, trying to clear their name. So it's just borrowed trust, borrowed intrigue, borrowed interest in a character the show spends absolutely no time with. No, it does nothing to earn that trust on its own. It just steals the name of Batman so that you can superficially put that as like the inciting incident in the first episode. So you can put that in the trailer that makes people go, oh, DC, oh, Batman. And then everywhere it goes with it from there is just generic characters. You don't know who they are. And like like I said, the craziest part to me is that 3 months ago, they did a different version of this that would have been dramatically better. I don't think I will ever like the idea of killing off Batman to set up a show about other characters. You're not going to win me over to that. Let's kill off an A-list character to follow all these B-list characters. Or I guess that's not fair. Batman's sidekicks are A-level characters. They're A-level sidekicks, though. But Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Robin, Batgirl, these are not quite the A+, the Batmans, but those are like everybody knows who Batgirl, Robin are. And then Red Hood, for anyone that knows comics knows them, but maybe not as mainstream because Red Hood hasn't been in a theatrically released film. But those are characters people actually recognize. In this one, it's literally made up guy and the children of villains. These are like DF level characters. Nobody knows who they are. And it's a show about them. Only being elevated by the fact that Batman. From there, it has all the goofiness about kind of these CW shows. I watched all of Arrow. I actually had a lot of fun watching the early seasons of Arrow. Same with The Flash. The early seasons I thought were a lot of fun. But there's a certain CW-isms that wore thin pretty quickly, where every character, no matter how old they are, has the emotional maturity of a 13-year-old. Just kind of clunky dialogue, just the oddities that everybody that's rich is always going to these big parties and mansions, like that stuff. It has all that, all the goofiness of CW shows that it's like, all right, we've already seen your bag of tricks we've already seen this, except you don't have a compelling lead character. Oliver, Flash, these are great characters that, want to spend time with them. Okay, it's kind of like Batman, except it's Robin Hood in this city, and he's out for vengeance, but he's growing into a hero. Okay, that's interesting. Flash, Barry, this more optimistic character, that's fun. Turner Hayes. That's what they give us. So I just, all the bad dialogue, all the cliches, all the generic isms, all the logic that doesn't really add up of like, hey, wouldn't you just do this? Why don't you try this? All that stuff. All the bad writing. Minus characters you actually care about. And then the part where I think it starts to get really offensive is that it also has that CW version of representation. And representation, good thing. Should movies, TV shows look like the world that we live in? Yes. But to use the word that they used in the episode, these CW shows do performative representation or performative allyship, to where when they introduce some of the characters and you actually get to kind of know their backstory, they like pause and one girl goes, "My dad loved to watch bisexual women in his pornography. He just didn't like having a bisexual daughter." And you hear that and you go, what is this? Like, what is this dialogue that's happening right now? And then it introduces the next person and they're doing like a little bit of good cop, bad cop. And bad cop goes, "Looks, it says that your name is whatever your name is, but your birth certificate says," and then good cop goes, "Don't dead name him." And then he goes, "Speaking of dead names, Bruce Wayne, did you kill it?" Like, it literally does stuff like that, of just the most heavy-handed, in-your-face version of things. And then the follow-up dialogue is, "Your performative alliedship will not build trust with me." And it's just dropping buzzwords. It's like putting it in your face, rather than having characters that represent our world and just letting them be characters. Letting them be humans that exist, and because they're different and they have different backgrounds, their stories reveal different things, to go in different places. Instead of doing that, it's like right out of the gate, we have to tell the audience exactly what we're doing. Make sure you know we have representation. And it treats them differently. It others them in the way that it's being so performative and letting you know right off the bat, we've got other people and like we're representing people. Like that stuff, that CW version of it. Does it build out the character? No, not really. Does it explore anything? No, not really. But it just talks to the audience directly to let you know what we're doing here. And we're one episode in and it literally pauses. "My dad loves bisexual women in porn," which right, like even that line of dialogue, you're like, what is this even saying? Right? Like what what is this like? Like, it sounds like it's supposed to be really clever, but even playing this out, like, what's going on in this household that this information is discovered? Like, what? Like, who writes that line of dialogue in a TV show? And that's like, the whole thing is like that. Just the same beats, the same cliches, the same bag of tricks that they used 10 years ago on Arrow, minus Oliver Queen, minus the stuff that made that show good, and replacing it with Turner Hayes. Who? I don't know. I don't know who he is. So if you saw the trailer, if you heard the premise and you went, that sounds terrible, you were right. Granted, I did go in a little bit cynical about it, like, what is this thing? And it was just as bad as I was expecting. It was just as much of like, just a terrible concept from the get-go, cheaply executed, ridiculous writing, and just as performative and goofy and being in your face, not treating having diverse people as like, just, we're going to have different types of characters. No, it treats it as like this thing that we have to shine in the audience's face to make sure you know we're doing it, which is not actually honoring and representing the world that we live in. It's just trying to get credit from people. It's using people. It's like, write interesting characters that represent our world. That's not the same thing as a ridiculous dialogue where you drop terms just to make sure we know what you're doing. Gotham Knights. There it is. It's as bad as we all expected. Did you also suffer through it? Let me know what you thought down below in the comments section, and keep talking movies and TV.